In case you're checking house prices at the moment, you should definitely come talk to our next two guests from Raiffeisen, one of the largest mortgage providers here in Switzerland. Marc Stefani and Funk Te, data scientists at Raiffeisen, please bring some structure into the chaos. The stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, welcome everybody. Imagine you walking down the streets and there it is, your dream house. And since housing prices have risen sharply in recent years, you might ask, can I afford that house? And although you know maybe some facts about the house, like living space, you realize that you need much more information in order to come up with a guess what it could be worth, or with the decision to actually buy the house. So you ask yourself, how is the neighborhood? Do I hear the streets at night? Is the commute to Zurich short? Is the kindergarten for my kids in short distance? And so on. So a lot of questions. And it's exactly these kind of questions we need to answer when we estimate the value of properties. And by having this 360-degree view of a property, we are able to come up with a good estimate of the house prices, and also explain the drivers behind the price and why the price is that high. So I would say properties are part of the main business, or for the core business of Raiffeisen. Since we are a leading bank for Swiss real estate financing with a mortgage volume over 200 billion Swiss francs, that means that almost every fifth mortgage comes from a Raiffeisen bank. And what really sets Raiffeisen apart is the fact that it consists of over 200, or to be exactly 219 independent banks that are cooperatively organized, and together they form the second largest banking group in Switzerland. So our goal is to increase transparency in property valuation. And what do we mean by that? So coming back to our example, the dream house example, and let's say you were lucky, the house is actually for sale. You contacted the seller, you got the purchasing price, and now what? You need probably a mortgage, right? So you contact the bank of your trust, and maybe after this presentation I could convince you that this is Raiffeisen from now on. So you're having the discussion with your client advisor, and he will usually do a property valuation given the facts from the house. And Raiffeisen does this by using several property models, also from third party, to be transparent. And we believe that having this 360-degree view of a property can add benefit for both our clients to be better informed when making decisions to buy or sell a property, and also for Raiffeisen to support our clients better during this whole journey of searching on financing property, and also the decision go or no go, and also for us to better manage the market risk when we better understand what drives house prices and how they develop over time. So how did we do it? Did we tackle the task of property evaluation? So when we had this lot of data points, what we did was basically to divide it into 3 layers. And the first layer is really like the region, the broader region. So am I in Zurich downtown, or am I in the countryside located with my house? The micro location is then more the neighborhood. Do I hear the streets? Is it very loudly? And many other factors. And the last one is, I think what most of you guessed, is just the attributes of the house itself. And for each model we fit, for each layer we fit the statistical models, and the macro location, the micro location model then are inputs for the final model, which is then used for property valuation. But before we can even think about modeling something, we need data, right? So we integrated a lot of data from public sources, and we keep that in a geospatial database, and we also put a lot of effort into updating these database on a regular basis. We also use data, internal banking data from all over Switzerland, and as well data from the Swiss real estate data pool, which gives us also the freehand transaction of houses and apartments with the price information actually that we need for building up our models. And so let's have a look at the macro location, and let's say our dream house is located in the region of Zurich. And before going into the modeling part, let's have a look at the influencing factors of the macro location on municipality level. And a good example is the tax burden, for example. And let's say our dream house is located in Küsnacht, in the beautiful village of Küsnacht, somewhere at the lake. And as you can see, it's pretty dark. That means in Küsnacht you have a low tax burden compared to Winterthur, for example. So you pay less taxes than in Winterthur. And the intuition is that this has attracted wealthier people in the past, which can afford to buy more on properties. The next one is public accessibility. Is also a good example. Like I mentioned before, it's nice to have a short commute to the nearest largest city. Most of you work probably in Zurich or in Winterthur, so you want to have a short commute. And another factor is, other factors could be also just proxies, right? For example, the median taxable income tells you that wealthy people live there, and it's probably an expensive location. So taking into account all of these factors, we are now finally able to model the macro location. And for this, we used real estate market transaction to calculate the price level for each municipality. But you can't do that for every municipality, especially for smaller ones or some in rural areas. You lack recent transaction. You don't have enough transaction over the last few years or a few months. So what we did is we used the factors you saw before and build up a generalization model, which somehow extends the prices from regions where we did have enough transactions to regions where we did not have enough transaction. And what you end up then is, you end up with a nice map for every municipality in Switzerland. And here is just an example of the canton of Zurich. And what you see is like the yellow is the high price region, as you expected. It's really around Lake Zurich, and Zurich it's high priced, and unfortunately your dream house it's in one of the most expensive villages. And you also see that pattern that the farther you go to the borders in other borders to other cantons, the lower the price is. So having the macro location done, we're now, and let's say you still want to buy the house in Küsnacht, you start looking into the neighborhood, and the good thing is the house is located on a hill and it has lake view. So Funk, can you tell us why does it matter to have your house located on a hill, and what could that mean for the price?
Sure, thank you, Marc. So that's a good question. Why does it matter to live on a hill? And to answer that question, let me show you a picture. Here you can see a picture of two villages, one in South Korea and one in Switzerland in Küsnacht. And what they both have in common is that they're on a hill and you have a good view there. So where's the difference? So in South Korea, these type of villages are sometimes called moon villages, but not because the property prices are going to the moon, but because the village is on a higher ground, so they are closer to the moon. And actually, you find poor people living in these type of villages. And whereas in Switzerland, here in Küsnacht, you mostly find wealthy people because this is the place of high demand. And so why is there a difference? So the microlocation is a measure of the attractivity of a location, which is influenced by many factors. So living on a hill and enjoying a nice view, of course, it's very cool, but it's pretty useless if you have nothing else, like you don't have a school for your kids, you don't have public transportation, no supermarkets, and so on. So this means sometimes having a good view can positively correlate with a good location, and sometimes it does negatively correlate. It always depends on the other factors as well. And to decide whether a location is good or bad, we first need to understand the factors influencing the microlocation. And let me briefly guide you through the factors with an example of Küsnacht. And I think we can all agree that having lake view is an important factor for the microlocation. And what you can see here is that we calculated are the lake view for all the buildings, and you can see that for the blue buildings you will have a good lake view, and for the red buildings closer to the forest you have a limited view. And another important factor is the street noise, and you can see that across the railways and the main roads you will have higher noise level, and closer to the forest and off the roads the noise is lower, and people prefer to live in more calm places. Another important factor is the accessibility to shops, because nobody wants to drive 30 kilometers to get to the next Migros to buy food. And there are many other factors like proximity to school, public transportation, possibility to do leisure activities, and so on. So once we have defined the factors, now we talk about the modeling. And there are two ways to model the microlocation. You can either go for a rule-based model or for a machine learning-based model. And we decided to use a supervised machine learning model. And why? Because we at Raiffeisen, we have extensive regional expertise in location assessments. And this is reflected in the more than 250,000 location assessments done by our client advisors across the whole country. And we want to leverage that data to better understand the location assessment and process. So we use these assessments as our labeled data set. And we decided to go for supervised machine learning compared to rule-based, because a rule-based approach can be often too broad and also struggle to capture the interactions between these features, just as the example I mentioned before with the lake view. And we have tested several machine learning algorithms, including logistic regression, tree-based model like random forest, even multi-layer perceptron, and based on our use case and the model performance like training time, inference time, accuracy, light gradient boosting fits our use case the best. And a short note on the label. So we use 250,000 location assessments provided by our client advisors. This is a very rich data set, but it comes with its own challenges. So these location assessments are subjective assessments by our client advisors. And you can see here in the example of Lucerne, these are mock-up data. You can see that there are ratings, like for a building, which is very good rated, and just quite close by, you will find another building which got a very bad rating because it was another advisor who think it's actually not a good location. So we need to deal with this noise in the label. And how do we do that? We apply spatial outlier removal to remove the noise in the labels. So simply explained is that if the rating of a building is very different from its surrounding, then it's very likely an outlier and must be removed. And so what you obtain in the end is a more homogeneous labeled data set to train your model. Our final model has an accuracy of 78% and a kappa score of 86%, which is very good, at least good enough for our use case. And looking at the confusion matrix, you can see that the performance is very well balanced across all classes, with minor deviations mostly to the next higher rating or lower rating. So a building which has a very good rating is very rarely predicted as a bad location. That's very important for our use case. And also having a look at the feature importance, you see that there's not one type of factor which governs the model, but the combination of all the factors we discussed earlier is important when you model the microlocation. And also this is an indication to us that that using rule-based methods can be difficult because it's very difficult to take these interactions into account. So once you have your model, it's very important that you do a sanity check, so a visual validation. And what you can see here is the raw predictions of our model for city Lucerne. And what you can see here is that the predictions is still a little bit noisy. So you have a lot of green dots, which are very good locations. But within here, you can see orange dots, which means the location is average. And this can happen because it can be due to overfitting of the model, but also due to the underlying data we used to train the model, because we combine data which are of the type grid and just different granularity in the data. And to solve this problem, we apply a spatial smoothing technique. So we use the k-nearest neighbor to obtain a more smooth picture of the microlocation. And what you can see here is two examples for k-nearest neighbor equals 3 and 10. And you see that the predictions indeed become more smooth, and it's usable like that. So to the last part, the property evaluation model. I won't go into detail here today because this is a well-researched topic. But in a nutshell, we combine all the insights generated from the microlocation, the macrolocation, with property features like how many rooms you have, living area, where do you have a parking lot, to create a property evaluation model using generalized additive model. And here we decided to go for a non-parametric model because we want to have better control over model, which is not available when you use light gradient boosting. And here it's important to highlight that the feature space which we have crafted is available for all buildings in Switzerland. So we can make predictions for each building in Switzerland. That, yes, that's actually really cool. So you can just give me your address, and my friend here will just click one button, and then he will tell you the price. So that's how it works. And yes, here an example of a single-family house of a medium-sized property in municipality Walchwil. The prices ranges between 2.7 and 3.4 million Swiss francs. And maybe to come back to our example, our dream house in Küsnacht, the prices ranges between 3 to 4 million, right? Yes,
somewhere
3 to 4 million. So I think, I mean, for many of us, it will stay a dream, or at least for me. I don't know. So to summarize, so we combine a wide range of publicly available geodata with our own banking data to create a 360-degree view about the property market. And this is not only important for us at Raiffeisen, for our client advisors to better understand the topic and also to improve their decision making, but also for our clients, the home sellers, homeowners, home searchers, to gain more transparency into the real estate market. And the second point is, so whenever you have to deal with company data which involves subjectivity, like in our case, the client advisor data, you must check for inconsistency. So in our case, we had spatial data, so we were able to use a spatial smoothing to remove these outliers. And this was very important because this did really drastically improve the performance of our microlocation model. And the last point about the property evaluation model, when you model property valuation, it's important that you do not only include features related to the property itself, because then you will only obtain a partial understanding of property valuation modeling, but that you also include location-based features. And that is why we have decomposed this complex problem into 3 layers: the macro location, micro location, and the property. And also including these features really helped us to better understand the topic and also increased the model performance. Thank you very much.
We have questions in the audience. Yes, first. You were first.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm a non-technical guy. I'm interested in business. And I was puzzled about how you handled outliers, because the outliers could be the new norm, actually. They could be right, because when you capture all this information, they are not captured at the same moment. You have information from property sold or bought 2 years ago, and you have new ones. Why you decide just to cancel or to erase the outliers without checking with the timeline, actually?
Yes, that's a good question. Thank you. Actually, we could have done that. Maybe also because it's really like that the perception of whether location is good or not really will change over time. This is true. But in our case, we just wanted to have a generic model which just everybody can understand, and it's really like, yes, when you look at it, you will think, yes, that makes sense. And this was our ultimate goal in the end, yes. But a good input, thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, you had several factors that influenced the prices, and one was distance to the train station, the other was noise, and I would assume that they obviously can contradict each other, and depending on the customer, one or the other might weigh a bit as more important. So I was wondering, how are you modeling for that, or how are you accounting for differences in that?
You're talking about the micro-location or just general?
Yeah, micro-location, because you had these factors influencing
yes.
the price.
Okay, yeah. Yes, that's also true, because really whether a location is good or bad is quite subjective. I also had a lot of discussions with my friends that I think Langstrasse is actually really nice because I lived there quite long, but he said no, it's really bad. So this is true. But again, here we wanted to create a model which is for like the average.
Majority.
For the majority, we can say. And also we are maybe more addressing, because it's about buying home, so also for people buying home. I mean, it's mostly like they have a family, they have kids, so they don't like noise. They want to live in more calm place. Yeah, this kind of, yes.
Yeah, so in the end, micro-location is then just an input in the final model, which tries to be as precise as possible when predicting the price. And this is somehow something what the majority is wanting to pay, right, for the house. I mean, if you really like the noise of the Langstrasse and the fun going around, then yeah, happy for you. If nobody wants that, so you can buy cheap. But
so you have a stereotypical customer as well, in a way, like a
Pardon?
stereotype of what you think what a customer wants. So
Yeah.
it looks like you have a stereotypical customer as well,
Yes.
like a model.
Yes, also we use the client advisors data set as our label. So they defined which is a good location and a bad location to train our model. Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. First question that came to my mind, what you build looks very similar to what this startup from Zurich does, Price Hubble. What made you build it yourself instead of buying the solution externally?
That's actually, yeah, it's a good question and also a reasonable one to ask. I mean, we also had in the beginning discussions about this, and I guess for Raiffeisen, it's really important to know by ourselves what's going on in the property or in the real estate market, how prices evolve over time, and we want to be the first when prices, to know when prices like shifts and why that does it happen. And second, what we also learned was during this project is that when modeling with the data and trying to predict house prices, we also found like inconsistency in our data or something which was not good in our geodata. So it's really also this kind of feedback loop you get from when you're modeling the data. That's, yeah.
We have time for one last question.
Good that my question is twofold. So have you thought about explainable AI methods in improving your model, but also in bringing transparency or more transparency to the client? And also smoothing never works.
Yeah, I can take that. I mean, it's it's a good point. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to also show you this. Of course, we also have thought in this direction because we have for the micro location and the macro, we have the models, and we can ask the model why it predicted this thing. And yeah, we definitely do that. And this also, we think that this could also be powerful to present to customers then to, for example, to say, yeah, why is it so expensive in Küsnacht? Here are the facts, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you have more questions, of course, both are available for further discussions in the coffee break.
Thank you.
And sorry, before you leave, we have a small gift from Zurich.
Thank you very much.
Fine, danke.
And now you can have the coffee break.
Yes, thank you.